hundreds of them, no birds, just wrought iron bridge by welding joints in Victorian fashion. All of these devices of entrapment were constructed in such beauty, I didn't know what to think. You see, last week, I was at the thrift store, and I came across a vintage bird cage. I stood there staring and wondering, why is there so much beauty here? But that took me back to my Nana, and how it must have felt losing the civil rights movement at the same time. And I began to think, what better way to defend for someone's freedom than to collect those things that trap us, by leaving just one less cage in the world and ensuring another scene of formless flight. So I started to wonder, how many people did this woman set free? Was she on my father, with a one-way Greyhound ticket in hand and sunglasses on the back of his neck, preventing him from pausing in the past, could head to the mile high so he didn't have to feel that low again? Was she the miracle that made my mother follow him to the mountains? Did she swoop my grandfather out of cancer's misery? Does she hold the keys to my throat? Did she stitch my cousins into the Blue Angel Air Force Falcons that they became? Could you feel like you won the civil rights movement in your own backyard? Let me tell you something. When your time comes, how many people will you have selflessly unshackled? How many doors did you leave open? How many bars did you bend or file through? Did you make sure that the perches around you went unoccupied? Did you tend to their feathers? Did you feed enough wisdom before their takeoff when the caged bird sings? Did their hymns rattle the locks? Or did you swallow their tunes when the doves cry? Did you give any weight to their tears when that rooster crows? Will you empower it to fly? Nana, why'd you have to go? When we sat around your coffin, I think we all knew that your soul was soaring above us. Your feathers, they must have been fraying that sky, because everyone in attendance was just a cage that you collected. Thank you.
Jovan, your words have just enveloped and completely touched us in so many different ways. On an evening when Black Lives Matter protests are broken across the United States, thank you for sharing your voice with us, and we look forward to having you in India at the Jaipur Literature Festival on behalf of America. Thank you so much.
Okay. I have the great honor of introducing my old friend, one of America's great poets, Anne Walden. She is a poet, a performer, a professor, an editor, a cultural activist. She is the author of over 40 books of poetry, including the book-length hybrid narrative eco-poem Manatee Humanity, and the feminist epic The Yovis Trilogy, Colors in the Mechanism of Concealment, which won the 2012 Penn Center USA Award for Poetry. Other recent books include Gossamer Murmur, Jaguar Harmonics, and her latest, Voices, Daughter of a Heart Yet to Be Born. She is the editor of The Beat Book and co-editor of Civil Disobediences, Poetics, and Politics in Action, Beats in Europa, and most recently, Crossworlds, Transcultural Poetics. Her latest album is titled Untethered. She is a recipient of the 2015 American Book Award for Lifelong Achievement by the Before Columbus Foundation and Guggenheim Fellowship, the Shelley Memorial Award, and is a Chancellor Emeritus of the Academy of American Poets. Anne was one of the founders of the Poetry Project of St. Mark's Church in the Bowery, and its director for a number of years before going on to found the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics at Naropa University with Ellen Ginsberg in 1974. She has continued to work at Naropa as a distinguished professor of poetics and artistic director of its summer writing program. Now, I've had the honor to introduce Anne several times, and you'd think I would run out of things to say. Apparently not. She continues to surprise me. I continue to learn from her. Among the many brave and wonderful things Anne accomplished at the Mother Festival in Jaipur last January, where she served as keynote speaker and panelist, most moving for me was the standing room only session with young people, where she and Punita Roy talked about her life and letters, how she came to writing, the wonderfully mad and gifted people she met and has collaborated with along the way, the dangerous engagements with deadly serious politics, and the delirious experiments and excursions with dancers, rockers, novelists, and Buddhists, both Tibetan and American, in quest of truth, illumination, and freedom, and always with other poets whom she has nourished and encouraged. I said toward the back of the room among all those brilliant young people in India, they never took their eyes off of her. I think they saw in Anne something of what the world offers them now, which I would like to call a life that matters. Just a few weeks ago, at the home of a friend and in the company of other writers and supporters of JLF Boulder, Anne gave us a poem about manatee, mother and child. Waking up from the spell she cast, I understood I'd gone down into the water with the manatee. I remembered something one of my Buddhist teachers said to us: the world is its own magic, you do not need to add to it. I took him to be saying that we must come alive to what's already here. When we surrender to our poets and novelists, historians and storytellers, then for a while we become someone else, and later we feel the change. By the power of Anne's manatee magic, for a while I had become a manatee, swimming slowly among them in dark water. You know, in Buddhist practice, one is continually asked to imagine other sorts of lives vividly and presently. I work at it, and I notice that it's always me in some other costume. Well, Jules, another fine mess you've gotten yourself into. Anne's manatees did something different. It wasn't exactly me down in that water. It was consciousness of another sort. For such gifts, I am endlessly grateful. Please welcome Anne Wallman to the third edition of the Jaipur Literature Festival.
Thank you so much, Jules and Jesse and William and Sandra and Anita and everyone who's here and all the people from all over the world. This is so important that you're here for Jaipur 3 in USA. Make literature great again. So I wanted to start with a poem for the great American poet John Ashbery, who passed away Labor Day. Maybe some of you are familiar with his work. A great national treasure, a very important poet to many of us. I met him when I was 20 years old. He came to Naropa when we were founding the program. His work continued to be provocative, beautiful, radical, and very transcendent, and also very witty. So I want to start with a poem for John, just written. He just died on right before Labor Day. It's called Shadow Behind Eclipse for John Ashbery. When he died, a temperature went down. Trees in the sky above Flatirons, tremor there. Oh, didn't, then did, see? We were driving in the canyon moons ago when he had said then, closing in, feel for this love, fool for this love. He was our drumming ritual if you were a berserker and willed by constellations. He was our prize for being born this world through school time, through bliss, through saltiness and the question, can gentlemen do without? Never retreat from scrutiny or miss the enemy burnt leaf smell like resin. He was our fear of a sentence, half dreamed if we couldn't seize the whole. He was our vessel, cave and boot, train ride to the province, meandering by river, panic to be left out of this landscape, a picnic, whole, tome, memorized, many colors. He was our vanguard of non-self, scent and doubt, of deep carriage into the unknown. What do you know of it if you know not him? When he did laugh, he did and muse. That was a blue eye special. He was putting things next to one another. You too somehow included. They, you, it, things didn't have to bond, but in poetry happen. And now listen to his voice with eyes gone wild for flowers, scratchy reel to reel, 1966, sacred fury of a primordial world, half mannish garb on the sentence, a profile in the hallway, across all crystal neural pathways. Mirror, mirror, up to nature, and we had a glimpse. He was our respite. Midnight excursions, off limits, sometimes a candle at the brain wondering, fallen star, what rhymed with it? Espoir, hope, blood heart, held supine. He was our cosmography in a better world you could count on. Relief, release. For John Ashford. This is called Daily Night. And thank you to Jovan and to all the events that are put together here that really honor literature and poetry. Denouement. And the day would be proud of itself, going on as if it hadn't already collapsed, had not been destroyed, riven all the people mad and metabolically downcast. It's around the eyes, they said. It's around the hearts. The city was reeling. People were coming out to the street in the way they wanted to see where the big guy lived and boasted so as to mock the event. It wasn't over. It wasn't going to rest. The big guy was not real as the day, as the year, the century, the epic shared was not real. The tribulation he ensued was not real, but it was that affect that mattered. What would suffer? It was the warmest year on record, as if that wasn't enough to make some idiot pause and pausing resist. And if resisting, insist on being heard and calibrated so that measures were taken round the clock, ice caps photographed, melting, and all the rest uphold away from accountability. How ugly would it go? Resistance! Had to resist. And it had already happened if you stopped to think. Someone had gotten up and walked that far and then paused to take stock for the last time. It was the last time the human had a chance, the last one to be observant and cry and stomp and take stock and be like the something that had melted. And if healing could ever be, it would be theater, a spectacle. Come pay, like the kabuki you just saw, imitating the resolution between a sword and a fox, a country in its honor, the last straw of honor broken on its back, and blue was invoked in the silk scarf that draped the emperor's chair, where he sat timeless and waiting for the play to begin. We were it, played upon. But could that be true and yet be denouement, with hope still screaming and streaming in beneath the surface, and then dark applause from all the centuries come raining down? Looked over Jordan, what did I see? Drones over Jordan coming after me, singing the crimes of men. I got those Anthropocene news. Looked into the crystal ball, what did I see? Cadres of humans taken to the streets. Cadres of humans changing the frequency, waking up to the Anthropocene, the Capitalocene, the Anthropocene blues. I'm just going to finish with a few lines from this new book. It sort of looks like a Tibetan book. It's called Extinction Aria. It's exegesis, the realms, how ink is blood. And I want to thank my dear friend Jules for commenting on this text. It's sort of a trip through the realms, and I'll just read a little bit, because it's quite amazing. It has these, it's all very handmade. And this was my vision, rocked back by the weirdness of days on Earth, when the weather changed course, when we had lost our minds, when leaders failed us, there was no wisdom, everyone was joking, everyone was very, very entertaining, when war kept going and animals were mimicking the end, and starving kept on, and there were people escaping across many borders, dying of it, the running you bent to see them on the map. Borders were lines on a map. You stained the map, and you strained at the screen, and the little dots, people were dots on the map. Dots on the map, points of light with beating hearts. They could see us anywhere, we said. We looked at our ourselves, are these people? And people were trying to escape and were weeping, and no one could speak. These two are these people. They could be cruel and hateful in speech. It was Babel time. It was Babel time bubbling up. It was all the end time prophecies coming into focus, inked before our time. It was all writing. It was a contracted oracle. No escape. They had been etched for extinction, the song, the exegesis, the realms, how ink is blood, but more like a prelude to end times. Obsessive, your mind can't get off a jag, can't get out of the dark dream, streaming in, missing advocates of praise, imagination, and divination could not bear to feel joy. What was joy? Or the other side of the world? Joy? Joy was prosperity. Joy was how? What was it inside your self-confounded interpretation? When can you be joy? And how be joy? And if not joy, art? If on other side of world? If on there, that place, that other side, mind stream of dirt and ice, a forgotten place deep inside? When you give up, how feel when on and loop this back? Who can you want to be, people? I sing with Damaru. I sing with syllables. Eh, ma, oh.